Today on Locked On Rockies, coaching changes for the Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 13th day of October in the year 2022. I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team each and every single day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, guess what? You are in the right spot because that's what we do around here. We talk Rockies baseball. I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk, just like I have been doing for a couple seasons now, alongside following this team my entire life. Today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, we are going to talk about the Rockies making some coaching changes today and what that means for the club. And but as always, you can find our wonderful little podcast on your favorite streaming service or streaming live on YouTube, where you can subscribe and be part of the show. You can follow us on Twitter at LO Rockies, and you can follow me at Paul Holden 33. All right, let's dive into the big news. Actually, this is I'm not surprising news. It really shouldn't be surprising that the Rockies are making a change after finishing in last place in the NL West and really not being good on offense. The Rockies have parted ways with their hitting coach, and let's head on over to the Colorado Springs Gazette here. Danielle Allentuck writes, Colorado Rockies make coaching staff changes after last place finish. After another last place finish in the NL West, the Rockies have made two coaching staff changes. Colorado parted ways with hitting coach Dave Magadan and reassigned third base/infield coach Stu Cole to a minor league position. The rest of their coaching staff, including manager Bud Black, pitching coach Darryl Scott, and bench coach Mike Redmond, will return in 2023. Magadan, who had been with the Rockies since 2019, led an offense that only hit 148 home runs, the eighth lowest in MLB. They also only hit 225 with only 51 home runs on the road, with nearly every member of the lineup finishing well below their career highs. As for Cole, the details of his new position will be ironed out later. Cole has worked in the Rockies organization since 1995 and joined the major league staff in 2013. The Rockies defense, missing only one starter from their 2021 team, saw a big dip defensively, leading the league in errors for part of the season. They ended the year with 99, the fifth most in MLB. Cole also, though, played a major part in the defensive turnaround of second baseman Brendan Rodgers, working with him every day to turn him from a below-average defender to a Gold Glove candidate. That's going to be a tough one. I think Stu Cole has been a fixture for the Rockies for a while. He's been someone that's always talked about highly within the organization and on the broadcasts, and has been part of Rockies baseball for a long, long time. And again, like you're mentioning there, has influence on defense, something that the Rockies really need to get back to counting on. And I think what you see with these two moves for the Rockies is them going back and trying to really commit to what the original identity of Rockies baseball was. We'll talk about pitching stuff in a minute, but really realistically, what the Rockies have been known about, especially in their successful years, obviously good pitching plays a factor, but they score. They score a lot of runs. They are a threat at Coors Field, and then they play really, really good defense. The Rockies have been a really good defensive team this year, and when you see them step back in all categories, honestly, but especially the defense and the offense, and with Magadan having ample opportunities now with ample amount of different levels of firepower in the lineup, this was a good move. The Rockies need to change a lot of things. So now, hopefully, this means the Rockies will be able to go outside of the organization, like we ask every single time, to find some new minds and some new fresh opinions and a new fresh approach for the Rockies offense, because the Rockies simply can't be at the bottom of the barrel in home runs. They play at way too home run friendly of a park. They need to develop power in their lineup, and they need to add power into the lineup as well. So realistically, what is the big takeaway from this move is hopefully the Rockies are really committing to beefing up this offense and realizing that it's okay to win with some shootouts. I mean, that's kind of what you're going to have to do with the Rockies anyway. I mean, if you're not making changes when your pitching staff with how bad the pitching was this year for the Rockies, and you're more worried about the offense, which honestly, you kind of with the current coaching staff, one that's been there with Magadan being there since 2019. Whereas the Rockies' new pitching coach is just, I know he was on the bullpen side of things, and now into the actual pitching coach role outside of the bullpen. There in Daryl Scott. Maybe they just want to, with their commitment to loyalty, it's they're more willing to keep Scott along because he hasn't been there, has as much time up at the major league level as he thought, and maybe they're happy with some of the performances of stuff. But I guess let's shift there. I personally would have moved on from both coaches. I don't think, but my opinion was Bud Black's job was never in danger, and I guess I would imagine that changing up your pitching staff is going to be easier said than done, especially when it's something like Colorado. But that's simply not true. I mean, anybody is going to want a job in Major League Baseball that's qualified for it, and the Rockies would provide a unique challenge. But if you're upset with how the offense has played out and how the offense has panned out since Magadan was in charge, then how long is the leash for Scott when it comes to pitching? If the pitching staff next year does not, we have the same issues. If we are seeing the same issues when it comes to German Marquez and high inflated ERAs for Rockies pitching, what does that mean? Because that's the part I was also worried about. But in the meantime, this was a necessary decision. You don't reward coaching or reward philosophy when you have not performed, especially when you've had opportunities to perform. And you've had, with that being, I know Magadan comes in right after the playoffs, but when you look at the seasons that have followed and what have plagued the Rockies when it comes to their shortcomings, especially in 2019 when they were a highly touted team, was lack of offense. And lack of clutch offense and lack of offense on the road. They need to go out and get someone that's really going to hamper in and really look into these differences. There needs to be a unique approach to coaching hitting with the Rockies. I mean, just like every team is unique in every aspect. Every team has a bunch of different philosophies on how they work, whether it's from the front office or whether how they're managed, whether it's the players that they have together on the each team is something different. And you need to bring in play or coaching and philosophy and people on that side of the game willing to do creative things, willing to buck traditional means and get something. We hear about it all the time now in the NFL of the whiz kid coach and the blah, 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 and like this new era of things. That's what the Rockies need to embrace, especially when I'm going to say the Rockies are going to be a team that benefits from the shift not being a factor, because we've seen without the crazy shifts how much just putting the ball in play is a factor for Coors Field and things of that nature. So the Rockies need to just be a team that has great disciplined approach at the plate while also getting the ball in play with some thump. It's something that we need to do. It's just the Rockies changing things up here. It's a good sign, and I think that ample opportunity to basically all of the coaching within the Rockies has been provided. So I think this is a shakeup, and in the spirit of this and kind of talking about, I want to talk about why I think keeping Bud Black is actually the right move for the Rockies. So there's been a lot of people that have issues with Bud Black and stuff like that. And while I don't necessarily think he's going to be the manager for too much longer, I think Bud Black is in the right type of position for this, especially with the Rockies. I don't think it's necessarily Bud Black's fault or issues for the shortcoming of the Rockies, but he also should be held accountable as well for his game management. But before we dive into more talks about changes on the coaching staff for the Rockies, folks, I got into this business because I like to dress casually. I'm not a big dress shirt guy. I'm not a big suit and tie guy. I'm not a big fancy dresser. And now I appreciate looking good, feeling good. I definitely get that. But sometimes when you got to wear those clothes, then you got to do certain activities. Like you've got to look nice and play some golf or something like that. It's kind of a hassle. And, that's why the dress shirt was due for a radical reinvention. And Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone, pardon me, Rhone's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible shirt known to man. And here's why. Rhone's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. Maybe you got to play some catch in the yard right after work too, or got to take the kid to practice right after work, and you're still kind of in your collared shirt. The commuter shirt's going to help you with that mobility, and you're still going to, kind of got your style, and you can go right from the office, but you can still kind of move and flex and do some actual activities. And with the Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, the shirts are 100% machine washable, so no dry cleaner needed. The commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/lockedon and use the promo code LOCKEDON to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to Rhone.com/lockedon, RHONE.com/lockedon, and use code Locked On. It's time to find your corner office comfort, RHONE.com/locked on. That's Rhone.com/locked on with the promo code Locked On for 20% off your entire order. We are tuning in. Thanks so much, Alec, for at least popping in. I appreciate you. The live chat's going off here at Rock's Hot Takes says young coaching should absolutely be embraced. And yeah, it's just, I want the Rockies to embrace philosophies outside of their own organization. I mean, as you continue to turn to the same people and the same things, I mean, as much as we've had this conversation, this is another opportunity for the Rockies to branch off from their usual past, from the things that have gotten in their way in the past, and do something different. Now, I can't just, I am not very versed in the art of hitting coaches here in baseball, so I can't whip up some names of people, but you can look at teams. You can at least have, when you're interviewing people and you're talking to them, you can listen to their philosophies and listen to what their mindsets are about, hey, I come from the Mariners organization, and one thing we worked at was plate discipline with JP Crawford a ton, so he has perfect at-bats and is only going for that perfect pitch. Or I came from the Angels organization and we worked with power. We've had some power in there as well. I mean, there are just plenty of places, and I know those aren't the best examples maybe, but you can look and talk to and interview people from other teams and bring them in and talk about and develop new philosophies. And Jeff Terry says coaching ain't the issue. It's part of the issue. It really is. I mean, because the philosophy, whatever approach, whatever identity, whatever philosophy the Rockies hitting and pitching coaches have brought forward the past 2 years especially, have failed on the road. It's not whatever they teach there or coach at this level to their players, because they're not really teaching hitting, so to speak, but whatever their philosophy is, whatever their situational approach or play calling is, it's on the coaches. And it's the Rockies also need better personnel in terms of power hitting, and some of a lot of the parts of the roster don't necessarily wow you. But for the Rockies to fail as bad as they have on the road, I mean, and they've been really, really bad on the road. I know this team's never been good on the road, but the last 2 years, especially, the Rockies have been horrible on the road. And yes, that requires a step up in performance from the players. It means, though, that whatever the coaches are doing to try to adjust, to try to get to fix, to work with, to adjust, to prepare for, isn't working. So the Rockies making a change here is the right way to go. And I hope the same philosophy goes for Daryl Scott, because with the way Scott mishandled the bullpen and with the way the rotation went this year, Scott needs to be on the hot seat this year as well. Daryl Scott needs to prove that he can coach this team and these pitchers to be successful at Coors Field. And we've seen it. Herman was great outside of Coors, but that's not the big part of what your job is as a coach. Your job as a pitching coach, your job as a hitting coach is to unlock what your team has, to bring the most out of them and take advantage of your situation, and especially find the interesting quirks and the interesting thing that makes your team unique. And you got to tap into that. And the Rockies just haven't done that. The Rockies don't have anything that's necessary from their coaching. They're not bringing out the best in their players right now. In fact, the way the Rockies leadership, the Rockies aren't getting enough out of their players right now. The Rockies should be getting more out of their players. And yes, that falls on the players for sure. It also falls on the coaching as well. And, I just don't think that you can get a new manager. You can do stuff like that. But I think Bud Black has been around a lot of these guys, and there's a deep enough relationship with Black and these coaches that moving on from him right now, while you're still crafting an identity for your team, while you're still figuring out the future, isn't the right move. Black at least will give you some stability, gives you some familiarity for these players and the veterans on that team, and kind of know the expectations. When you're getting the new manager, I think that's got to come when the team starts performing and has some other, the prospects are up. They're playing well, but the Rockies still aren't over the hump. They're still missing out. They're finishing third in the division. That's when you're going to move on. But I also don't think Bud Black's going to be managing much longer than the next couple of years, because there's just no point in continuing to stick with the Rockies' plan from their playoff window that they closed on themselves. And Bud Black was a part of that plan. So we'll see how this factors in for the Rockies, what this means for the future. But this was a right move for the Rockies. When your team can't hit, when your team in a hitter-friendly ballpark finishes in the bottom of the league in home runs, you got to make some changes. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about in Rockies land today? You know what? Let's talk a little bit about I kind of just want to talk about the playoffs a little bit and just gush a little bit about them. So it's not really Rockies talk, but let's talk a little playoff baseball right after this. I've been having a ton of fun with baseball's playoffs. Obviously, a Dodgers-Padres division series fills me with nothing but hatred, honestly, and jealous rage. But, man, it's just been really good baseball and really dramatic storylines that have made for a really entertaining postseason product. It's something that I think baseball has, at least some small things from this year, might signal a small bounce back. I don't think baseball is ever going to truly recover from some of its own issues and recapture the mainstay of a lot of people, especially in a fast-paced world. I think a lot of the changes and a lot of the things that have come to baseball, including some of the changes to the playoff format, like the wild card weekend, are good moves for it. And I just think it's led to a solid postseason product. I mean, big upsets are great. I mean, with the in the first rounds, the Mariners I've talked a lot about them, I know, but there's just been great stories and just the classic stuff of baseball, the classic grip and just examples of how tough this game is. Look at the Mets, look at how much they were dominating this season. And then it all, the last part and into the playoffs, they couldn't get it done. The Cardinals, the same thing. And now the Phillies have a chance, and they're going blow for blow with the Braves so far into between two games. And the M's were leading the Astros all the way up until the end, and it's a walk-off 3-run home run. And Dodgers Padres is classic. I mean, you really can't negate the electricity and the energy in these rivalries. I just think that it's been really wonderful baseball. And of course, the Guardians in that marathon game. I mean, no one's it's the most entertaining 15-inning game you've probably seen, and no one scored up until the end. I mean, you're still hanging on to the edge of your seats. I think you can see the seeds of what makes baseball exciting and fun to watch here in the postseason, along with home run races are great for baseball, and offense is really good for baseball, as we saw at the end of the season, is mixed with these great pitchers. It's as the game continues to evolve, we'll see how it evolves alongside. But I just wanted to take a little second there and just talk about how much fun I've had watching the postseason, and how much fun it'll be when the Rockies are back in it. When that will be, I'm not going to hold my breath, but we'll be talking about all that and the Rockies all off season long right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Short, sweet, something easy for you today on the Locked On Rockies podcast. So thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Thanks at Rocks Hot Taste, Alec Hart, Jeff Terry, and Eric Harper here in the live chat. As always, if you want to subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube, then you'll know when we're live. You can pop into the live chat and ask your questions. Be part of the show. This show right here is for the fans like yourselves that love the Colorado Rockies, just like me. That's what we do around here. So be part of the show. Follow us on Twitter at LO Rockies. Follow me at Paul Holden 33. And now that you made us your first listen of the day, why don't you go make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day? And Sully's going to keep you up to date with all things Major League Baseball. And if you want to stay up to date with Colorado sports, the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Nuggets podcast, all going to be in full swing here, and already are in full swing as the season's underway for the Avs. The Broncos desperately need some new life, and Nuggets right around the corner. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.